Hey, Ramen Hood. That's a cool piano, thank you. Hey, Laura. I'm just making up stuff. Static flavor folly? Maybe in a little bit, Mira. Hey, Alex. Mirtha, sounds good. Play La Vida y Bella, maybe in a little bit. You want to go faster? We can do faster. What do you need, girl? I know. Somebody help out Moonlight in the Dark so they know which song it is. What would you play to riz me up? I am a man. Odd. Rat dance, please. Beethoven? We can play Beethoven. All right, a bunch of people had some random things they wanted to hear. We could do random things. What is this? Oh, bump da ba 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 da dum da 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 da. Come as you are. Superman theme? Blues? Blues would be fun. We're just playing a bunch of stuff people want to hear right now. Maybe we'll make up more stuff in a bit. You're in Calidor going now? All right, have fun. Any Chrono Trigger songs? Sure, we can do that. The one behind you? That sounds creepy. Yep, it is. Good. One minute was. I almost remember the whole thing. David Bowie. Oh, Mr. Crowley. Mr. Crowley. To the dead. Mr. Crowley. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Let's look up the whole thing. I'm just making it up. Yeah, I remember this. I remember this. Mr. Crowley. only need ones with lyrics, because that does not have any lyrics. And I do not know the lyrics well enough. Hold on, we're tracking stuff down. Give me just a second. Let's see. Do you like me questions? I don't care. Any questions? What was the name of the artist behind you? It's David Bowie. Let's see if we can get a... Oh, no, that doesn't give us anything. All right, we're just going to do Mr. Crowley. Can I just get the chords with the... There we go. Mr. Crowley, what went on in your head? Oh, Mr. Crowley, did you talk to the dead? Your lifestyle to me seems so tragic, with the thrill of it all. You fooled on the people with magic. You waited on Satan's call, Mr. Charming. Did you think you were poor, Mr. Alarming? In Nocturnal Report, uncovering things that were sacred, manifest on this earth. Discovering the tears of the secret, yeah, they scattered the aftermath. All right, now can we look up the guitar solo and sight read it? That's the real trick. Can you just sight read the guitar solo? Does it have it written in here? Hold on, let's get that guitar solo. Okay, here we go. Ooh, yeah. It's a lot of triplets. All right, now we're just gonna make them. I completely forgot about that song. That song is awesome. Go to the one already? Lazarus, Porcupine Tree. Prelude and Fugue in C minor. Oh, this whole one. Oh, is it? That's it. Something like that. That whole one. Megalovania? Sure, we can do that. Practicing for his trip to Guitar Center? Exactly. You gotta be ready for that trip to Guitar Center. Rachmaninoff's third Ossia cadenza. We could look at that. All right. Let's see. We'll grab that guy. And then Lazarus. Porcupine tree. Take a look at this. Take a look. It's in a book. I feel like I've tried this before. This is not written very well, but that's okay. Let's see. Okay. This is a little painful the way this is written. There we go. That's kind of fun. Kind of fun there. All right, we'll play some rock in just a second. Oh, yeah, because that's not Undertale. Let's take a look at this rock cadenza. da da da. Nope, that's an A. Good old classical. That's pretty. That's really pretty. How do I create memorable and unique melodies? Play wonderfully at learning Rhapsody in Blue arrangement. That's awesome. Widder Toccata, Widder Fifth Symphony. Let me answer this question. Memorable and unique melodies. So here's the deal. I think most people get melodies wrong in one of two ways. They either get it wrong by overthinking it and making it too complicated, or by underthinking it and making it too simple. Now, that sounds really stupid, but let me help you out. It needs to be singable. That's like the first and foremost. And yes, you could technically say it doesn't actually have to be singable, right? You could make big melody leaps. But in general, the melodies that stick with us, we can sing, right? Ya, da, 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 ya, da, da, right? Da, 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 that sort of thing. So when you think of something being singable, it's going to stay within a certain range. Sixths are kind of the biggest that you're going to really do. You know, you can occasionally do an octave. Again, every rule you come up with music, there's going to be an exception, but you have to understand why that exception exists. So you have to understand the rule to understand the exception. So that's what I would say to begin with, is thinking of those smaller movements, something more simple. Simple, simple, simple. You can make it feel more complicated with the harmony and everything around it, but melodies themselves generally should be simple. Even if they have a lot of notes, those notes are ornaments. They're not actually the core melody. Like you would think of a really complicated melody, right? Yada da da da, yada da 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 da, ba da 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 da. But if you take a ya da da ya da 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 da, right? Ya da 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 da, basically ya da 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 da. Even though that's one of the most complicated melodies, right? It's like ya da 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 da. That's kind of what it is. And then those are all ornaments. The other part of it is the unexpected. And again, I think people blow this out of the way. Like they blow this into a thing of massive proportions that doesn't make any sense anymore. So if you think about like Sabrina Carpenter melodies, they're a great example of both things. They're quite singable, and then they also just do the tiniest little bit that's unexpected, right? You typically go this one direction, you go the other direction. That's basically how it is. So, your melody is boring, men, play other melody. So if you look at something like Espresso, right? is about as simple as you can imagine. I'm working late and I'm a singer. Part of it, I think, works because of the delay, right? We wait for it. 1, 2. Oh, I don't care, Trojan Fog. People are ridiculous on the internet. And then you get a little bit more here, right? You set the expectation, now you go a different direction. So now we're going up instead of down. A little bit of change, right? So we had this set up. And then I think where the melody really goes to another thing, and I wouldn't even say Espresso is an amazing melody. And to be honest, it's not the incredible melody, but it's a serviceable melody, and it's a good example of like the right type of thinking to get a good melody. That note right there, that's unexpected, right? What we expect is ya da 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 da, but instead with the ya da 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 ba da 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 ba 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 da da da. It's very satisfying, it works, it plays by the rules, it's very singable, but that little turn to the B does all the work for us. Ya da 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 ba 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 da da da. So that's what I would say. Now, a melody from T Swift or Billy, yeah, those also would be really good examples. Let's pick one. Let's see. I'm always terrible with their songs. Oh, da 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 da, ya da 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 da, right? Lots of repetition, right? We've got one thing that works. Something as well, especially if you're approaching this from the pop world, is the chords change how the melody feels, right? So this over C feels very different than over E minor to F. And then we have a little bit of a different thing, right? Ya da 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 da. One third thing to help, we're talking about making it singing, and then we talk about how we're making it a little interesting, a little unexpected. Think about those notes that rub on the chords, right? They don't really fit with the chords. Right? This melody's filled with them. It makes it really, really nice to hear. Right, on that C, right? Ya da ba da. It resolves, right? Ya da da. But now it's on the F, so it doesn't resolve. Ya, but then it resolves. All these notes right there. Okay. Psychology of sad and happy melodies. This is a really interesting one because I'm not sure we really quite understand what makes something sad or happy. Now, there are some little clues, but let me explain. For some people, you would say minor, right? Make something sound sad, and major, make something sound happy. But there are happy minor songs, and there are sad major songs. So I don't think it's that simple. I think some people think that melodies that descend or have the interval going down, right? Yadam, that's going to sound sadder, and things that go up are going to sound a little happier. All of these things are little clues. But if I had to just try to guess a little bit to kind of point you in the right direction, I would say there's something to be said about the possibility of options that I think make something sound sadder than a major thing. And that's why major is thought of as to be happier. There's not very many options to major. Like major is simple. And I think there's something about that simplicity musically that makes us content and feel good. And then things that are minor or sad, they have more options to them. There's different pathways they may go. They might not do any of them, but just even that opportunity to go somewhere else, I think, is giving us this feeling of complexity. So maybe a little thought there. If you want to do this in a very hand-wavy, very simple fashion, then think about expectations and refuting them. So for example, if I play a C and I'm in C major, then I play another chord note, and then I go to another chord, and I keep playing chord notes, and I keep playing chord notes. Even if I play minor chords, it still doesn't sound that sad. Even when I play minor, it still has this almost feeling of like, folkness, like I'm telling a story, or like it doesn't have that twinge of sadness there. But on the other hand, going back to what was I made for? Yeah. Sorry, I forgot the name of it for a second. This is in major, but it sounds really sad and contemplative. Why? The dissonance, the complexity. Ya da da da. Ya da 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 da. And then that tilting down, right? Ya da. This would already sound happier, right? Ya-dee. The down is sadder. Ya-da-da-da. Ya-da-da-da-da. If you take that same melody and you start on C, ya-da-da-da. 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 Same tempo, same everything else, much happier. When have to make higher notes to get down to show the sadness. Okay, here's the deal. It's direction, and yes, to go up, you must come down. To go down, you must come up, of course. But if you play, for example, if you start higher and you go, ya-da, da-da, da-dum, ya-dum, that has this lilt to it. It's kind of going down. It's a little sad. But instead, if we start in the bottom, da-dum, 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 or you hide the beginning, you go da-dum, 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 and then you just go back, ya-dum, da-dum. Again, it feels like it has to be even and balanced. It actually doesn't. So you can always be going up or you can always be going down in music. But again, don't get too tied to minor means sad, or going down means sad, or all these concepts. They're very changeable. And ultimately, I would say if it feels sad to you and you're expressing that, it probably will come across as sad. And that's probably not as satisfying an answer as you want, but that's probably the case. What do you think helps a beginner to understand chords and music better when it comes to playing piano? I can tell you exactly, Worship and Surrender, what I think helps a beginner to understand chords and music better. Hey E, it is first knowing the letters on the piano, and then it's knowing the scales. It's knowing the scales. Because here's the deal. If we know the scales, then, well, okay, let's go back to what was I made for? That song could be hard for a beginner, but in reality, it's 3 chords. It's C major, E minor, F major. If I know C major scale, all I have to do is start with my pinky on C and then skip, skip. Boom, I got that chord. Pinky on E, skip, skip. Boom, I got that chord. Pinky on F, skip, skip. Boom, I got that chord. And then I learn the melody. Hey, ya boy, dude. Yes, the scales are the key, but you need to understand why you're learning the scales. Most teachers go, play your C major scale, play your F major scale. And they don't tell you what that's for. The thing it's for is to show you how to navigate songs and the chords. That's why you learn your scales. Now, they do teach you how to cross over. They do teach you how to approach technical concerns and melodies. But I would say first and foremost, they're a tool to understand key signatures and chords. Why are there so many scales? Well, because there's 12 notes, and if you want the same sound on each of them, you need to know each of the major scales. And once you know all your major scales, let's say you go to a singer and they're like, hey, I want to do What Was I Made For, but my voice is feeling a little bit tired. I want to go, ya-da-da-dee. I instead want to do it a bit lower. Then you go, oh, okay, where do you want to play it? And you're like, A flat major. And you're like, okay. And you don't care. You can play it in A key. That would be transposing. That is correct. That is the general reason why there's so many scales. So those are the 12 major scales. Now, if your question was why is there also minor scales, and why is there like diminished scales, then that is a different thing. And a lot of that has to do with more advanced things, doing some jazz stuff, doing more compositional work. And again, if you don't care, you don't care. Bohemian Rhapsody. Play more than one scale with 2 hands. Yeah, I do that all the time. We can do whatever we want. A major with D minor. A flat major in your right hand with E mixolydian in your left hand. Sorry, not E mixolydian, E Phrygian. It's just practicing it. This is just practicing it. You can break your brain. In the style of Bach, Autumn Leaves in the style of Bach, I could try it. I'm not very good at that type of thing because I just haven't spent, that's a lot of like thinking through, like, okay, are you going to do it like a prelude? Are you going to do it like a fugue? Because so you would have to decide. So I would be probably tempted to do it like more like a. Could. Then we could do it like a prelude. Thank you for answering questions. There are many things I do not understand. Don't worry about that. It's okay. I think a lot of people get scared. And this kind of goes into something that Therm Oakland is asking about. We'll get into that in 2 seconds. I think people get scared about what they don't know with music. Thanks, E. Yeah, I have a little too much of a pop sensibility. I have always been a rock and roller at heart. And so I tend to always go back to pop and rock. Let's see. So what would you recommend for coming up with music, like kind of routine or something? Okay. The first thing I would say is if you don't know your scales inside and out and practice them regularly, then stop what you're doing. Well, not stop what you're doing, but start doing that. Because I think people think that somehow music can just come out of you. Like you don't need any other precursors. And if you think about it for 2 seconds, that's kind of ridiculous. Is it true you should practice less louder than slower? I've heard of it. There is definitely a lot of truth to that. I'll try to answer that in a second after Therm Oakland's question. So let me give you a couple tidbits. So the first thing you could do is you could practice your scales, right? And then you could actually practice improvising over your scales. Something I like doing is you pick 4 numbers. Like let's say 1, 5, 4, 2. And these numbers are chord numbers. So it's 1 through 7. 1, 5, 4, 2. And then you play them in your left hand, and then you improvise over the top. Yep, C, E. That's a very easy way that you can actually start making up stuff right away. It's going to sound good. It's going to be good. Yada, yada. Makes it good. Here's another thing. You could think of a emotion and just try to express that. So you could say the frustration of dropping your phone and the glass breaking. I'm just being silly, but you get the idea. You could also be listening to something else and go, I'm going to make something like that. That's a totally fine way to do it. My final idea is just force yourself to sit at the piano for 5 minutes and make up something. If you don't know what to do, just put your hands on the piano and stuff will start to come out. Okay, those are some ideas for you. Is it true you should practice less louder than slower? I heard of it. This is more person specific. I would not say that that's like a general rule of thumb that is always a good idea. Unlike practicing slower, which is more of a 90% of the time. I hope one day I can play like you. Thanks for the advice. This is very helpful. Good. I'm glad. Subscribe. I'm going to make some longer form videos where we can dive more into these in earnest. Been having trouble finding time to do that, but we will do our best. Let's talk about practicing less loudly. What does that actually do? I think the two big things that does is there's one big problem people have, especially with classical music, and that is they tend to play, don't have a good floor when it comes to dynamics. So they play very, very loud all the time. And I'm guilty as much as the rest of everyone. It's kind of the reason why people overact, right? If you want to feel upset, right, and feel stuff, it feels more satisfying to be very big with it. But that doesn't mean the small, like the little movements and the little sounds are what are really, really impactful. And So that's one reason why practicing less loud is effective. The other thing is a physical thing. Forte, like imagine you're playing a big piece that's just big and loud all the time, right? You know, right? Something like this piece, right? Liebstrom, something like that, right? You get into it, it's loud all the time. When you do a piece like that, you start to get physically exhausted, especially if you're more a beginner. And so you start to make technical mistakes and play with worse technique. And so the act of working on playing softer really, really can help you. Also, a third bonus one is you might not be practicing on a piano. And if you're not practicing on a piano, then practicing softer can be a godsend, because here's the thing about keyboards. I'm playing really loud right now. Can you tell? No, you can't because my volume's down. I'm playing very soft right now. Can you tell? You probably can't because it's really, really loud because I turned up the volume. So the keyboards can really leverage our ability to adjust where the floor and the ceiling are in a way that allows us to play in a much more comfortable way. That's why you find so many people are super fast on organ especially, but also keyboard, because they've learned how to just be super duper relaxed and then use the volume on the keyboard to adjust. Now, I love piano. I'm not entirely into that as like exactly how your technique should be all the time, but if you're on a keyboard, you really should be at least spending some of your time practicing that way, where you're playing much, much quieter and less physically intense, so that you can develop some more speed and velocity and all that. I hope one day I can play like you. Thanks for the advice. This is very helpful. Oh, I already read that, but thank you again. Andrew G, do you play any other instruments? Yeah, I play a bit of drums. I sing a bit. I play a bit of guitar. I play a bit of bass. Basically all the band instruments. You know, grew up listening to Nirvana, all that type of stuff. Yes, exactly. It is. There's so many corollaries. That's why piano is such a great instrument, because it transfers over so well to so many other instruments. So yes, it all comes full circle. How often do I stream? That's a really good question. I wish I knew the answer to that question. I am basically transitioning to entirely, well, I'm not transitioning. I am doing a full self-employment at this point with my own business. I'm trying to get this channel big enough that it makes enough money that I can actually dedicate more resources to it. But currently right now, it's made like $8 total in its entire life. So it's mostly a labor of love. I mean, we could do a little bit of that. Oops, there we go. And then whatever the next part is. Oh, that's... Greetings from Turkey, awesome. Can barely play the first part. Take a little bit of time. Polka now! No! Also, I don't know sometimes how to play the scale with one hand, like C, D, E, F, and so on. Google search. It's a great piece. I'm sure it is. I'm gonna actually get off in just a second. In terms of streaming, I'm trying to stream more regularly. I like to try to do it most days, but again, life gets in the way, which is, I know, a fairly normal response. But in the meantime, I do release a short every day, and I'm trying to get at least 2 long-form videos every week, and then we'll try to get the streaming going. Because yes, I want this to be a place for all people who love music and conversation and learning more about life and everything to come and hang out. So until next time, appreciate you all. Have a good rest of your day. Take it easy. Bye. How do I turn this off? Where are we?